Do you want a portrait or landscape?
Portrait is good.
Yeah, cool.
How are you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Yeah?
How are you?
Yeah, all right. Steady away. I finally feel like I've got used to it, to be honest. Like, it's been 2 months, and I think 2 months of a routine will set you in a place where you're, like, used to it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah? How do you feel about it?
Yeah. Still trying to make the best of a bad situation. But yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm trying to learn new skills, doing gardening, some form of routine, and going outside.
Yeah. It's hard though, isn't it? Because, like, you know, you realize how many hours are in a day, don't you? That's what I find, you know, like, you know, you wake up and then you do this and then you do that and then you're like, right, okay. And then you procrastinate for a bit. And normally where you would have been at work doing something or like obviously tattooing for like 5, 6, 4 hours a day or whatever, you have to fill it. I think it's going to be weird to actually go back to work. I know it's been only 2 months, but I feel like it's going to be now 3.5 months, really, if it's the start of July, depending on if all goes well, though, you know. And it's different in Wales as well. Apparently, Wales aren't actually following yet. System. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping it's sooner rather than later. But yeah, I feel like going back to it, an 8-hour tattooing day is going to be like a whole different situation too. Well, like you said, you can just stop, have a cup of tea. I've drank more tea than I've ever drank in my entire life. It's too easy to just take a break or whatever. But yeah, I'm trying to keep in the mindset of being active and like keeping my same like working hours, but I'm just working out in the garden or something like that.
Yeah, but that's good though, because like, you know, like, I mean, for people that listen to this, if they don't know, I've been down to see you several times, so I know exactly where you live, and it's quite secluded. And I was thinking about you, you know, when all this started happening, and I was thinking to myself, like, you're like, you know, you're off the beaten track. You know, if somebody's going to come and see you, they're specifically coming to see you. They're not passing your house. They're not like, or anything like that. So it must get to a point where you're like, I mean, obviously you're good, you're comfortable with yourself anyway, being on your own anyway, but after a certain period of time, when you're putting in the same routine day in, day out, like you said, I feel like myself, there's days when there's been more days before, less now, where I had wobbles, where I mentally had a few wobbles where I was like, I don't know if I can do this, you know, this is ridiculous. Like, I don't know if I can deal with this. I don't know if I can deal with that. And then gradually as time went on, I was like, yeah, I know I can do this. And then I started implementing other bits and bats that I've always wanted to do. And it just felt a little bit easier. How have you found it being on your own up there?
Oh, being on my own is fine. That's not the thing that really bothers me. It's just if you knew from the beginning that they were saying, oh, like, you know, you got 2 months or 3 months or whatever, you can kind of prepare. And that it was just like, oh, you got 3 weeks and then we'll figure it out. And then it was just dragged on and dragged on and dragged on. So yeah, I'm just trying to, like I said, make the best of it, doing some work around the garden because I've got like loads of work to do, and I could be off for another 3 months and I still wouldn't get all the things I need to get done.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. There's such a massive amount of work to be done there. Well, from the last time I was there, I think the last time I was there was about 1.5 years ago, I think, or something like that. So it was like there already was quite a bit to do then. But as I've progressively come over the past 3-4 years, there's been more and more that you have done. So this will be good for you productivity-wise to be able to get things.
Oh, definitely. I think I've cut down like 20 trees or more.
Oh wow!
I've cleared 2 fields, so I got like a garden area, and I cleared a field where I've been planting like potatoes and all root vegetables.
Wow!
And I'll be getting some chickens by the summer. So
yes,
likely I'd be aiming for being almost fully self-sufficient.
Yes, that's wicked. I was going to say, is that what you're aiming for?
Yeah, I mean, when I go back to work, I can't work the same hours I used to work. I think I'd have to like either knock a day off or cut my day shorter so I can do all the maintenance for it and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, ultimately, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, well, I think life's going to be different anyway. I think, well, as far as going back to tattooing, I follow, Derb Morrison.
Yeah.
So I was following him for his tattoo studio. Like he was laying out like really stringent, strict rules that the governor of that state has given out for tattoo studios to open. And they're like really intense. I'll send them to you after. But some of them are like, I don't know, like it's just like, it is what it is, because you want to give your customer comfort in the knowledge that you're doing everything you can. I mean, we do anyway, but like even obviously it's going to have to ramp up even more. But man, how do you feel about going back to work when it comes to it? Like, I mean, we're gonna have to wear masks, etc., all that kind of stuff. It's just going to be a completely different vibe for a while.
Yeah, well, realistically, I think because Tattoo is probably some of the best people within this whole situation because we fully understand what cross-contamination. So we're used to like if we're wearing gloves or something, we know if we've touched that, that's contaminated. Whereas when I've seen people with gloves on, but then they're using their phone, and then they'll be putting that phone to their face. Or if you go to the supermarket, like everything you touch with a glove on is technically contaminated.
Yeah.
So, but the only real difference is, I suppose, we're going to be wearing masks or something like that for airborne particles. But in my shop specifically, I did consider whether it was because there's a couple of artists, whether we'd offset what days we were working, so we'd either be one artist there at a time. But at the same time, we're in separate rooms, so we're kind of limiting our exposure to each other, and you'd still be distanced from other people.
Yeah, that sounds legit. If you're in a separate room, as you obviously can, with my setup, there's just me and Nico. So I think to a certain degree, I would say staggering times. It makes it really, really. It makes it awkward, but I would rather work than and be tattooing than not, and it just being strange. Like I feel like going back as a tattoo artist, like you said before, we're fully aware of cross-contamination. Even if you've got your gloves on and you're taking a drink, like you are now, like you've got to be careful. You've got to take breaks for drinks. You've got to, all that kind of stuff. You've got to take breaks to go and have to drink a brew, etc., all that kind of stuff, because cross-contamination spreads super easy. Like I said, I remember watching, when this all kicked off, I remember watching a film called Contagion. And at the very start of the film, it just showed how fast things just spread, like it, and that like did not set me off in good stead for the start of lockdown. I was just like, but I do think though that we're in a very good situation. I think for myself, once we do in June, if we do start to get the green light, I'm going to make sure that in the studio when you walk in, there is a sanitizing area when you walk in. There'll be masks laid out for customers. Once they've done that, there'll be a protocol to go through, wash their hands regardless of whether they've done it already before, sit down, arrive 5 minutes maybe before an appointment, and bring just them on their own, no other people with them. And just for me, I think I will stagger. I think I will work out a situation with Nico where it can be staggered. I'll work in the morning. I've only got a 4-hour tattooing, and then you work in the afternoon, and then tomorrow I'll work in the afternoon, you work in the morning, kind of thing. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I suppose I don't. Most of my tattoos are long days.
Yeah.
You could stagger the starts of the appointments, whether they were half hour apart, so that all your clients aren't waiting in the same area before you come in, so that's one possibility. I got two apprentices at the moment, James and Kelsey, and I could alternate when they're working or something like that, perhaps. So,
How do you feel about
just limiting the amount of people are exposed, I suppose, but yeah.
That's just it, isn't it? Limiting the amount of people there. That's all I think, and keeping it as between you and the customer as well, less exposed as well. You know, like I think that's what hit me the last day I worked. I remember tattooing somebody on the Sunday. It was a hand, and I tattooed the guy, and then I was just thinking to myself, I'm talking to him, and by that point, I'd listened to quite a lot of stuff. I think Joe Rogan had somebody who's podcast who was an expert in the field, and I listened to that. But then I listened to Dr. Peter Attia, and he had somebody on, and Sam Harris had somebody on as well. And I was like, oh, I think I realized that it was actually quite serious to a certain degree, you know, and was spreading pretty quick, and they were giving us numbers of projected deaths, etc. And I just remember thinking to myself, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep tattooing. I can't, you know. And I think that's when I made the decision, which is so weird because it was on a Sunday I made the decision, and on the Monday, Boris Johnson was like, that's it now, you know, lockdown's in. So I don't know. It's weird though. Do you think, are you at all paranoid about, because it's a skill, isn't it? Are you at all paranoid about your first tattoo back?
The only thing I can think of, I hope I haven't forgotten our tattoo.
Which is what I'm alluding to, yeah.
No, I'm sure. I mean, I actually, in April was my 12th anniversary of tattooing.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it's like, I didn't really celebrate it because I wasn't even tattooing at the time. But I feel like it's been that long; it's almost muscle memory. You know, you don't forget it. But no, you were saying about your last tattoo. And my last tattoo was a lady. She works with people with cancer, like ear, nose, and throat cancers and stuff like that. And what she was saying is, it seemed more upsetting that even though there was all this whole thing about corona and the virus and everything, it's just all the people who have conditions like cancers and stuff like that who would have been having surgeries, loads of them got cancelled or rescheduled and stuff. I think things like that would put in people a lot more at risk of like almost immediate death, which, you know, they wouldn't even get coronavirus and they would potentially be dying, you know. So that kind of thing hit home and stuff. There's a few other things that are like, I think we won't know until like a long while later the sort of repercussions of all this is going to cost. So I'm trying not to be too self-introspective about how it's going to affect me. Where I think it's going to affect, you know, like I say, everyone's in the same boat, but not everyone's affected in the same way.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. It is a weird one. It's so hard. I think what you said is definitely correct, though. I think when we're going to know more about this in a year or 2 years, you know, when we look back on everything, you know, I can't help but think as well, man. You know, when I think back and I think about it all, like when we look back on it all, you know, is the number of deaths related to coronavirus, if they're all correct and not just things that just got it labeled with coronavirus, a COVID-19 death, are all the deaths that, because there's just been a spike from this time last year to now on average of actual just deaths in general, you know, from all-cause mortality. So, and they can't seem to figure out why, and they've postulated on the idea of maybe it could be because of the lockdown and people not going to hospital, you know, being scared of it. But then not only that, the mental health side of it, suicides may be rising, etc., all that kind of stuff. So, like, I can't help but wonder and think that when we come to the end of it, is the number of deaths going to be here due to COVID-19 and the number of deaths due to the lockdown that was imposed going to be higher? And when, you know, and opposed to the economical the damage that it's done to everywhere, basically, not just the UK, but like everywhere, what was it worth it, and will it be worth it? I don't know, man. It's hard to figure out.
Yeah, and we're two tattooists talking about this. I suppose you've got like specialists in every single field, and every Facebook keyboard warrior all having their opinion on things.
Yeah.
My main thing is just to be mentally positive through the whole thing. I think it's on a personal level, everyone is just controlled by like fear through all. And I think you've got to stay positive. You've got to spend time outside. You've got to keep active. You've got to still have a good diet. You can't just sit on the sofa, watch Netflix, or consume the news all day long. And I think, if anything, it's just kind of put things in perspective for me of what are my priorities and what do I value.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's the same that's happened for me, brother. Like I've not my diet's not waned. In fact, if even more, I've had more time to implement like intermittent fasting and succeed so far with it so far, and add certain habits in terms of the cold water immersion, which I wanted to talk to you about, and I knew that you've been doing it, and that's just another habit that I'd wanted to implement, because I know the benefits are unbelievable, and I've heard them talked about so many times. I find it strange that you can learn something and learn that it's good for you, and have all the knowledge but still not actually use it. So like I knew and I'd seen that you were doing it, and you got a group together. Like, discuss that a little bit more. Like, how did you found that group?
Yeah, so it started off with me, Sean, and a friend Sophie, and we went into, I can't remember why. I think I'd been listening to stuff about Wim Hof for a while. My friend Sophie, she'd been going to see quite a bit, and then one day it was in like towards the end of March. And yeah, we just went to ski together. It was a lovely day, but it was absolutely freezing in the water.
Yeah.
And then we started more and more, and then we were just telling people about it, and then it just kind of caught on. And by the summertime, we had over 45 people in the group. And we had like a regular thing where we'd all be hanging out, going to the sea and having food afterwards, and it was just an amazing time. It was absolutely amazing. So I think with that, it wasn't just the benefit of being in the cold water; it was the benefit of the social group and everything else, and we were all just in a really good mindset from it.
Yeah. Sorry, you're breaking up slightly, but yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you mean, man. I can imagine that it's not just the benefit of the cold immersion, you're all doing it together. It's the idea of it's a group activity and you're all getting a chance to actually partake in something that's like, it's a group of you doing it. So you're all feeling it together. And then, like you said, you go for food after it. Like, would you go to like Cafe Loafer or something?
Oh yeah, well, Cafe Loafer is like a regular for us. So if it was in the morning, we might go for breakfast there, or we also do a thing where I do like a yoga class in my shop, and then we do a yoga, like a brunch in Cafe Loafer afterwards. But we also like make snacks and stuff like that, or we were trying to make our own cakes, or like whatever bits of snacks we could bring together.
That's wicked, man. That's well good. I love that though, because like that shows that you're like, I don't know, that's something for the community as well, isn't it? You're doing something for the community there. Like, you were talking about Wim Hof as well. Like, I listened to quite a bit of stuff about him before. I listened to a guy called Ben Greenfield, which I know you follow him too, yeah? Yeah, so he for me was the one that really sold cold water immersion, because he's just his philosophy, the way he talks. I love Ben Greenfield, man. I listen to him every single time. I think he puts 2 podcasts out a week, and some of the stuff he talks about is super interesting. But he's one that like implements cold water. He's the one that's making me do it as much as I can in the morning and at night. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know, trying to get people to actually, that must have been cool to try and get people involved. Did Sean do it?
Yeah, Sean did. Sean was one of the first people who started doing it. He didn't do it as often. He just kind of does it as and when he kind of feels like it. I try to get as many people as I can. Marcus came down.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, wicked.
I mean, she wasn't a super fan of being in the sea, but because it was quite, it was freezing when we went. It was a sunny day, but it was freezing. But I've been, traveling with Marcus, and he's been the first one to like run and dive into a lake in like Germany or America or wherever. So he's only on board for just doing fun stuff.
Yeah, doing something different. Yeah, I know what you mean, man. I can imagine he's like that. It's funny, man. But it's weird because we're friends, so I'm gonna kind of like, I'm definitely trying to interview as well. I want to know with you, man, like for the people that are listening that don't know you, who follow your artwork, etc. What were not your current influences, but what were your early influences from when you first started 12 years ago, that pushed you in and made you, your early influences basically.
Stretching my memory now. I think I don't know. I suppose like realism and stuff like that. I think it was only like Bob Terrell, that was really like pushing it on like portraits and stuff like that. And I think I was only about 6 to 8 months in when I saw Jeff Gogwe's work. And then I think it was in 2009 I met Marcus.
Yeah.
And even though I don't do a lot of biomech and that kind of thing, it's just I learned a lot from him and through what he kind of through his seminars, through our chats and stuff like that. But and I think Philip Blue obviously, I think he influenced everyone back in the day. I think from about 10, 15 years ago, I think it was just like, the big names like Philip Blue, Paul Booth, Guy Aitchison, them kind of people that were at the top for most people influencing, and now it's just gone out of control. Like there's some person you've never heard of, he's been tattooing 6 months and he's just like unbelievable.
Yeah, totally, man. I mean, I'm with you exactly. I've been tattooing the same time. I think it's like 13 years I've been tattooing. So like, there's all the names that you said there are the ones that stick out to me massively. Especially like you said, like Philip Blue and Jeff Gogwe, and then obviously for bio, definitely something that me and you both got in common. But and we know a few people in the UK that are massively into it. It's just a shame in the UK. It's turned me off. If I'm not gonna lie, I don't push my artwork towards bio, organic, and biomechanic now. I just don't. I'm not drawn to draw it, or even consider designing it, man. I just because it's almost deemed for me, it's so negative, really, as a bit of a waste of time because the client base just isn't here.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, but I don't necessarily think that's all what it is, though. I think it's, you can't just dip your toe into doing, you've got to consume yourself in it because there's so much to learn. You can really create your own visual language if you spend the time on it. It's just, and then if enough people see that work, would there be the audience for it then? Because I didn't even know what, like back when I first started and I'd see what biomech was, it was terrible. Like you probably remember like the earlier stuff where it was just a watered down rip off of like Giga stuff.
Yeah.
But it was when I saw Marcus doing I saw him the wing sleeves he did.
Yeah, the famous wing sleeve.
Yeah, and I'd never seen anything like it. So at that point I was literally like, oh wow, so like it can be this. And then, knowing him since then and literally seeing his style evolve, like watching it happening, it's been amazing, So like, and I think partly, because he is almost 100% doing biomech. I know like he's done some stuff with like nature's big influence on him, so he'd like do like animals or birds, and he kind of dips his toe into them things, but like he's so invested in bio that when people see it, they're blown away and they're like, I need one of them. They don't know, oh, I want a bio, I'll look around for a bio guy. They see that and like, I need that, you know? So I think that may be the other way of doing it. You know, you go all in and then it comes to you.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, yeah, I suppose what you say is definitely right. It's easy to it's easy to think negatively about it, which I think I was letting myself do. I yo-yo so much, brother. I do. You know, like I'm like, oh no, I love it. I absolutely love it. And there's no question about that language that definitely turns me on. But I don't know. After a certain period of time, I'm like, I don't know. I struggle with it. Maybe doing this with you now again will revive some kind of influential spark that makes me like draw some bio or something like that. And then I don't know. Like you say though, it's weird though because as a caliber of artist, and we got to be careful not to kiss his ass too much. But as a caliber of artist, Marcus is one of them people that can be like, oh, I'm not going to do bio. I'm going to do a raven, and then the raven just has something completely magical to it that you wouldn't even consider drawing yourself as a tattoo. So he's on a different level as an artist, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. But I think I would say it's through bio that he's looked into visual language more deeply than most people would. And now he's got this skill set that he can apply to anything, rather than say, if you've only done realism, to try to pick up bio and design it. I think it would be a greater stretch.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Like, it's one of the things though. Like, I feel like Jeff would be a person who, if he turned his mind to it, could do bio. You know, especially bioorganic. You know, biomechanics. I think it runs in line with moving on the body and making and fitting the body perfectly. But biomechanical is so, especially just the mechanical side, when you're not introducing organic with mechanical, you know what I mean? And it's just mechanical. It's so different compared to something that can just be, you know, like inspired by nature, trees, plants, etc. You know what I mean? But there's so many different artists out there now that I think for myself are killing it. There's a guy called A Bad Case of Purpose or something on Instagram. I can't remember what his actual name is, but he's done some work that's just ridiculous, like so visually appealing. It's unbelievable. And then the guy is still to this day producing work that's just on, like, from a different planet.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable, man.
I think, like, because Marcus has got a Guy Aitchison sleeve, you know, and it's aged really well. And there's sections in that where it's got this, you know, like the broccoli kind of surface texture, and it's just so effective. Like the way the light and the shadow works, it's just spot on, you know.
Yeah.
So he nailed that shit.
Yeah, definitely. Who would you say, is there anything or one person or one artist now that's kind of like for the top of your head that's influencing you right now?
So I've been so out of tattooing for however many weeks it's been, and no tattooers are tattooing. All I'm seeing is all their paintings and stuff right now.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know, I just like seeing large scale stuff, I think, more so. Steve Moore is always been a boss of that. I think there's one person I suppose I talk about, and not a lot of people seem to know about him, is Eric Cooper. His name's The Superstition on Instagram.
No, I don't know this person.
You might have seen it in my shop. I've got this print, and it's like a full body of a woman, and it's got like a tattoo design on it.
Yes,
or like
I've seen that. I remember that.
Yeah, and I think I had that. I saw him in London, and I saw that poster, the print, and I was like, I've got to have that. And I've had it for years now, and I still look at it, I'm like blown away by it all the time. So, and I think the one thing is kind of changes for me is I aspire to work on larger scale things rather than be caught up in, you know, doing sleeves made up of however many things that people have seen, you know, because I think the hard thing is in tattooing is that too many people just see what other people have and want what other people have got. So you get like this typical thing which almost comes out like a fashion on what people are having. Whereas, you know, you as an artist, you're generally capable of a lot more. And I'd rather focus on like full scale, like either full back or something like that, you know, and just have the opportunity to be more creative and not necessarily be limited to what the customer's idea is. You kind of want to like push them a little bit more. I don't know how these big artists do it. They just have to, I don't know whether they get more trust in people right from the start or what, but.
Yeah, I like you. It's weird because I know you. So we spoke about this loads, man. But for the people that are listening, you know, there's so many different ways. I remember, you know, Jeff talking about it. You know, Jeff used to say he had CJ's book out, and he would talk to people and just be like, "Look, check this out," and look how amazing is that? And he'd turn the page and be like, "Oh man, look at just how striking it is when it's across your full back, your bum and your back legs, and look at how much, you know, might as well just take your whole legs up, you know, it looks so good." And then before you know it, they're like, "Do you know what, just tattoo my whole body," you know, all that kind of stuff. And I think as well, not only that, it's Jeff Gogway. So I think the allure of the artist as well, if people have seen what you've done previously, so maybe it's getting them first few willing victims to go through pure hell to sit and take in your like artistic vision. Because I think I know what you mean, man. Large scale work as well, it eludes me. I you know, get quite a few bits and bats of this, that, and the other, but we don't get we don't get you know, I don't get much. Well, it feels so weird talking about tattooing and what I get and what I don't get, because at the moment I don't work. But as far as big pieces, no, yeah, it's something that's eluded me too. It's weird, man.
I've got a few pieces I'm still working on. So there's a few back pieces in progress, and they're almost like 100% me. You know, where they've kind of said, "Oh, I want to do this and this," but like you go to town on it. Yeah. And I got a few of them in process at the moment. So I was hoping to, like, once they're done, you know, I started doing like a big post about that, and kind of at least then I've got something I can show people. Like, this is what I love to do. Come get this.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's difficult, but I think, you know, as time goes on, I mean, I suppose, like you say, you've only been tattooing. I was going to say you've only been tattooing 12 years, but imagine when it's 20 years where you'll be, or 25 years or whatever, you know what I mean? You get to a point where you're like, oh, and you've managed to do this, that, and the other. It's like for your shop as well, for me, because the last time I saw you, you were in the original shop, and it's going to be weird for me to come down because how long have you been in the new shop now?
It would have been a year in November, so almost a year and a half now.
Wow.
And that's been an ordeal in itself, that is, but it's pretty much all there now. I think, you know, like one thing leads to another when you're getting jobs done. So it's pretty much, it's like 95% complete. So that, you know, just a little odd jobs left to finish off. But, you know, and with that, then we've taken on 2 new people. And, you know, the dynamic of the shop has changed, but like, it's brought with it, you know, new people, and it's been really good. And I got regular guest spots, you know, ready for you now.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool, man. And you know, like, so how many people are with you now? Like, so have you got 4? So there's 4 including yourself, is there?
Yeah, so it's me, Sean, James, who's kind of started doing some tattoos, and Kelsey, who is just working on the desk at the moment. Right.
Okay, man. No way. It's crazy. So have you got like an area that you walk into, and then the studios are like the separate tattooing areas are like away from the main area? You know, because the original one, for people that don't know, you walked into Nebula, and you'd walk in and it was all open plan. I could throw a stone through to you while you were working. I could see you. You know what I mean? So like, is it not the case in the new studio?
No, the main room now is like the waiting room, and that's got a divider, like a desk, and then there's 2 spaces in the front room. And then Sean's got his own room, I've got my own room, and then there's a 3rd room in the back then where I think James is going to be. So, but the idea is that we can all kind of shuffle around as well. We've all got like mobile stations, so if you wanted to work in the front, you could, or if you wanted the privacy of being in the back, you could move there, that kind of thing.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I like that. That's wicked, man. And you're enjoying it then? So you're much preferring the new studio to the old studio?
It's like pros and cons, you know. I think the only thing we miss about the old shop is that because it was all open, all the conversations would be a group conversation with everyone, you know, with me, with Sean, with his client, and everyone else. And now it's, you know, there's like a window through between me and Sean, so we still see and talk, but it's like you don't really, you're not part of the same conversation. It's almost separated between you. Yeah. So I think that's the only negative to it, but there's a little bit more privacy for that.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, I can imagine that, because I remember the dynamic before was quite attractive about being there, wasn't it? You know, like, yeah, you could sit on the front desk, you can see people coming into the studio, you can hear what they're saying. And sometimes as well, it's weird because your receptionist, the person on the front desk, might be listening and might be talking to the person that comes in, and the person might say something, and you might be working and be like, I'm the guy for that. Like that sounds perfect. I want that. That's going to be awesome. Whereas now it's like, and you don't catch that one thing that person said. And then as well, you're not in that situation where you can spitball certain things with Sean or James or etc. So yeah, I can imagine, man. That'd be cool. I can't wait to eventually come down once all this rubbish is done. Hopefully it will be this year, because I feel like I think in probably September time would be the time that we will be freed up. Obviously when work starts in July, maybe start of August, I don't know. It's just going to be again tattooing all the time. I'm just going to be, we're all just going to be working our asses off to get back to our backlog of customers and stuff. But it'd be cool to come down, man, and get on with it. One thing that I wanted to talk to you about as well, which was one of the things that drew me to you or attracted me to you, was your collection of tattoos. Like,
right. Yeah,
because you know you're a collector, man. You've got a lot of artists on your body, and the first time I ever saw you or met you, and the way I met you was when I was working at a tattoo convention, and I was working and I looked up and then I saw you walk past with your sleeve, and it was like, oh, that's a Marcus Lenhard sleeve. And that's what made me come to you and talk to you. And I knew instantly we had things in common. So then from that point on, it was like we were friends, and then we'd see each other every now and again at convention. Then I was like, right, I'm going to come down and see you. And then from that point on, we've been close friends since. And so how many artists would you say you've got on you right now?
Oh, man.
I know, it's a tough one, isn't it?
I think, okay, so I saved my left arm for something like special, so that's what Marcus Leonard did. My right arm had like a couple of bits and bobs from local artists, you know, before I was tattooing really, which that's getting lasered off now, so I'll be having Marcus redo that one. Yeah. My leg though, I've got bits by loads, man. I think I was just trying to find people that inspired me, or my leg is just mixed with either friends or people that inspire me. I mean, there's a spot on there for you as well. I don't know why you haven't tattooed me yet. I know. We need to tattoo each other. It's ridiculous, isn't it? How have we not tattooed each other? I've been in the same room as you with the implements for loads of times, and it's not even happened. I remember you getting a tattoo off Mr. Dist, you know, the Swedish guy.
Yeah, his work is unbelievable. I remember seeing you get your poor ankle done, but you've got, who else have you got on your leg, man? You've got quite a few bits and bats, man.
So I think I work my way up to my head now. So Jason Butcher did like a skull on the top of my foot.
Yes.
Henry, then Mr. Dist, he did another skull next to it, where they kind of tie in together. There's a guy called KG from California. He did some lettering on me. The guy I used to work with, Emil, he did like a mandala thing on my ankle.
Yeah.
Mick Squires, he did a skull with some roses. And then I think what happened, I kind of started a theme then of basically skulls, dot work, Japanese stuff.
Right.
Man, I feel like I need to look at my leg in a second.
Because I remember, who else have you got? You got a peony as well. Who did the peony on you? I think it was somebody.
Darren Mullin did that.
Yeah, Darren, that's it, right. He was guesting at your shop, wasn't he? And he did that for you. Yeah,
he's a good dude. And I got a tattoo that's gonna work. But that is one of my favorite tattoos, and I have no idea what his name is. A German guy. He was in London Tattoo Convention. He had a full back piece by Philip Liu. Wow. Like it's like a skull with like a snake on it.
Yeah.
But I don't know his name. But I got another local artist, Dean Sykes, did a mandala on my knee. Marcus Maguire did Adventure Time lemon grab tattoo on my inner thigh. Yeah. And then David Sean Williams on Instagram. He did a moth and a spider with skulls on it on the top of my leg. Yeah, that's right. Stefano. I'm probably going to say his surname wrong. Alcantara. Yeah, that's how I would how I pronounce it. Yeah. Stefano Alcantara. Yeah. He's unbelievable. What did he do on you, man? What was it? We didn't even know what to do. I just had a spot like to the left of my knee, and we ended up doing like an eye with it's like a smoky kind of eye that ties in with everything else that's there. It was just good to chat with him, and just like, I think through all the things I've got tattooed have been mostly either because they're friends and I want something by them, or because I want to learn from them. I think that's one of the main things. So having Marcus tattoo me, and then Marcus and Jeff do my back and legs. Yeah, that's that's the big one, isn't it, man? And that's for those people that don't know, that's a collaboration where it was Williams like full back, your back of your thigh and your bum as well, wasn't it? Yeah, down to the back. Well, from my neck to my knees, basically. Yeah, from your neck to your knees. Yeah. Pure hell. And it was literally the worst thing ever. Worst tattoo ever. I remember the first day thinking, I can't do this. Like, I'm not going to be able to do this. And then I did like 2 days with 2 artists the first day. And then I think we did 3 days in another trip. And then we've just been struggling to get the other sessions done. I think me and Marcus both in a position where we were moving shops and stuff, so we couldn't take a trip out to America. And then obviously, like, this whole thing is going to have a knock-on effect for being able to get out there and stuff. So. Yeah, and God, it's such a logistical nightmare, isn't it? You've got to get Marcus and yourself to Oregon. Is it Portland, Oregon? I think it is. And all have a diary free to be able to, and Jeff be free to finish it off, or to at least get it further. It's interesting what you were saying though, for like people that are listening there as well, because I've been through that quite a lot as well, where you start something and you're like, oh shit, I can't do this. Like I don't know what I've agreed to here, but I know that, well, I feel like right now I'm not going to get through this. I'm not going to get through this. And then you try, well, I can't stop. And then before you know it, you've got like 4 or 5 hours in and you're like, oh, this is pure hell, and you keep going. It's that persistence to keep going, isn't it? Yeah, I know. I don't even know how I did it. I don't even know how I got through it. And the worst thing is when you tattoo people day in, day out, and they're always better than me at getting tattooed.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm worse than all my customers at getting
Yeah.
tattooed.
Yeah, it's so weird, isn't it? Seeing people come in fresh faced every single day, ready for you to sap their soul from them. But then some people come in and they don't. There's no soul sapping going on. They're chatting to you the whole time about intricate information. And when I'm getting tattooed, I'm like, talk to me. I need to just focus on every little strike that's hitting my. I can't deal with this. I can't deal with it. But like, there's people out there that are on their phones, you know, like going through doing things, and I'm like, I can't even look at my phone. I can't.
Yeah.
You know, I'll even put podcasts on. I remember once trying to listen to frigging Ben Greenfield, and I couldn't take a word as he was saying. And when I was getting some of my back done by Darren, I was like, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this. I can't even listen to that. I've just got to focus on each and every single time she's got her hands on me and she's causing me pain. Like,
yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, no, I don't even know what that is. Is it a tattoo thing? I wonder where, because we're just so complacent with tattooing people every single day. It's just like drawing on a piece of paper, but then when it's actually you, you're like, oh shit, yeah, this hurts.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be that. You realize, what the hell am I doing to these people every single day? I don't know. It's tough,
Yeah.
man. Are you doing any artwork at home while you're doing it? Are you flexing your muscles still, you know, in a sense of like drawing? Are you still flexing that muscle or keeping your hands busy?
I haven't at all. I've considered the idea of doing like watercolor painting. I got a nice, well, I don't know if you can see the view.
Oh, look at that for the visual viewers. That is outside William's house right there. I've slept in that bedroom. That's the bedroom. It's the guest bedroom, isn't it? Oh, the visual's gone there. Is that the guest bedroom?
No, it's my bedroom.
Oh, it's your bedroom.
Hold it like up a bit. Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
But yeah, so I think like there's been some incredible sunsets that I've just been sitting out watching, thinking like I should really just paint this or do something with it.
Yeah.
But no, I think creatively, I made an axe handle carved out of a piece of wood. I've been just doing gardening and stuff. I don't know how creative that is.
That's creative.
But I was trying to think, like, using this time, it's like, think of things that you couldn't do when you were in work that you could do now. So one of the things I did is I did a 5-day fast.
Yes.
Which isn't necessarily creative, but like I've done like, you know, small fasts, like 2 days, that kind of thing. But you said about intermediate fasting.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I can do that. I think I get too hungry in the morning, or I find like by the time I finish work and get home and make food, it's quite late. So my window isn't as big as I would want it to be.
Yeah.
So anyway, so since I was off work, I did a fast. I thought, okay, see how long I can just go without eating at all and understand what that experience is like. And yeah, I did like 5 days, and weirdly, at the end of it, I could have gone longer. I think the first day or two is the hardest, and then after that, you kind of like accept where you're at with it, and you're not like super hungry. You just feel like slightly lower energy.
Yeah.
But it was more of like an understanding things, and you know, there's like loads of different layers you could look at for what benefits you would get for like
definitely
longer period fasting. But yeah, that's one thing I did.
Yeah, that's cool though, man. Like that again, that's the thing that I was pushing for myself. Just trying to do an intermittent fast, and then I think I pushed it to like 18 hours on one of them, and I was thinking to myself, I could do 24 hours here, and it wouldn't be a real problem, because once you get past a certain point, and you just occupy your mind with knowing that you're not going to eat, and you just keep drinking. You know, you're drinking water and stuff. I'd have the odd black coffee and things like that, but other than that, just no calories of any substance really going in. You know, after a certain period of time, you're like, I could keep doing this here, you know. But again, once normal work steps back in, it may be the idea of learning how it's like the David Goggins talks about it, the cookie jar. Whilst you're in lockdown, you've earned that fasting cookie jar cookie that you can put in and be like, well, once it didn't eat anything for, was it 4 days? 4 days?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I didn't eat anything for that long and I didn't die. You know what I mean? So you know that you can do that. And it's like, well, okay, maybe once a week at the weekend, I'm just going to take 36 hours off. And like, I think that 16 hours is really, really good for your body. But I think 36 hours is the prime spot, apparently, where your cells start to regenerate, and all the U cells, bad cells, like kind of like get shut out in a certain sense. And then that's the highest benefit for you. It's like 36 hours is like the sweet spot. So if you chucked one of them in a week, or even like one every 2 weeks, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I think that's what I was kind of doing before. I think once a month, I'd go a day and a half without food. And I think, too many people get false ideas, or it's essentially like an addiction to food. I think most people have without even realizing it. And if you would consider obviously I'm not a specialist in this field, but if you go back, 100,000 years ago, humans weren't eating nowhere near the amount of calories that we eat in a day.
No.
And they were doing, a lot more physical work as well, perfectly capable. And, and any food that they got, they were either hunting or foraging for. So I think it's probably more ideal to go back towards a more natural way of life.
Yes.
I think, and with me as well, like with the garden and stuff, trying to grow, organic veg and make sure, I've got good soil and just eat food that's from nature rather than processed and packaged and everything else.
Yeah, man, definitely. I think definitely there are things to take away from this. Like I say, we've got another month and a half realistically, so it's just going to keep going. It's such a strange time because it's by far the longest time that we've both not tattooed. So I don't know. I probably just got to both see how it impacts us, because like you said at the very start, in a full circle, like you're not going to really know the damage of anything really until it's all over and you can survey the damage.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think even with knowing, then, if it's going to be at least a month, it might be worth people setting in mind, like, okay, well, what should I do with myself with that time? You could do like a month-long yoga program. Every first thing in the morning you get up, do yoga, or just create sort of healthy habits or routines.
Yeah.
Because it's too easy to just sit down and do nothing when there's so many things you could do. And there's things like when I'm tattooing all the time, and I think like, I'd love to do a painting, or I'd love to make a piece of furniture or something like that, and I don't because I'm tattooing all the time. But now I'm not tattooing. I still haven't done these things. So it's like the perfect opportunity to do the things you always promise yourself that you could do.
Yeah, definitely, man. I definitely think that's a true point, because I don't think, unless this happens in some other way or a second spike or whatever, I definitely don't think we're going to get it happen to us again where we get told to not work, and when they're trying to give us money, to say like, look, just stay at home and don't work, because I got the small business grant from the government. I already had savings as it is anyway, but then, you get that and you're like, with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you only need a certain amount of things anyway, so like the money's not really an issue. You can kind of just chill out and wait. I mean, after a certain period of time, money's going to be an issue because you don't really want to be spending your savings on keeping yourself alive, but it gets to a point where you're just like, I'll be okay. What else can I do? What else can I focus on? But I do think, though, trying to be positive, that we will be back to work soon, sooner rather than later. I don't think it'll be, it's going to be in the second half of the year, but maybe we'll be a fresh perspective and we will be better slightly better humans by then. I don't know.
I think I'd like them to be like an optional go back to work thing. So people who feel like they're low risk, people who feel like, you know, I'm healthy, fit, I'm happy, you know, take my chances, compared to people who are, you know, older, or they've already got pre-existing conditions and they don't feel safe. Then maybe them people can just take their own initiative, you know, and you know, take their own, make the decisions themselves and where on their own risk management.
Yeah, that's kind of I really agree with that. I think after a certain period of time, you know, you've got to give the fit and healthy people a chance to be like, do you know what? I'm gonna do everything I can to social distance, keep myself clean, and all, etc., etc. But I'm gonna get back out there and I'm gonna do my thing, and I'm gonna open the studio. And if anybody wants to come in, these are the guidelines. Blah blah blah. I think they've got to. I think Elon Musk, he was on Rogan the second time, and towards the second third of the show, he was saying basically, you know, he feels like people should be allowed to do what they want, you know, to a certain degree, and make their own decisions in that regard, you know. And I do agree with that to a certain degree. You know, I think that, you know, if we're fit and healthy, you know, I haven't been ill for such a long time, Will. Like, and I'm sure it's the same with you, you know.
Well, I don't normally get ill. I did get ill in, I think it was like the end of last year, which, if anything, seemed like I had the bloody coronavirus. And that would have been, you know, I had like, it was like a flu, I was run down, I had a cough, it was like, and it like didn't, even, it was like bad for a few days, but I felt like it just dragged on for like 2 weeks, you know.
Yeah.
But other than that, I generally don't get ill, like maybe like once every 2 years or something, and that's generally because I'm working too much and I'm stressed or whatever else. But I don't normally get colds or anything. Like, I'm pretty good.
Yeah, it's the same. So I feel like it's the same. So yeah, it was weird that you were saying that as well. Like my Felix, my son, he, you know, in December he had a really something. It was such a weird time, weird 2 or 3 days. But he ended up getting a really bad flu. Where I ended up being blue lighted with him in the back of an ambulance to a hospital where they could deal with children better. And we went out there, and the lady on the ward, because they were saying it was suspected viral meningitis, but as soon as we got to this hospital, this lady straight away, she looked at him, went through the symptoms, and she's like, I'm just going to test him for something, just wait there, I think it might be a flu. So she went and tested him. She said, yeah, it is, it's come back positive, it's for a flu. She said, the only reason I did that is because I've seen a large number of children coming through here recently with the same symptoms. And that was in December.
Really?
And I was like, I didn't think about that until somebody talked to me about it. And then when I thought about it, I was like, oh my God, has he had it? If he's had it, he lives with me full time. So I'm going to have had it, and I've just not felt it so much, you know. So I don't know, man. I saw an antibody test the other day. Not that anybody really wants to hear this, but I'm talking to you. And I was like, they're like £100, and this legitimate company. My friend is a paramedic, and he got get it sent to him by a doctor, and he was like, look, this is a legitimate company from London. They're selling tests, and they're selling 100% proven test for antibodies to SARS-CoV-2, you know, like SARS-2, COVID-19 thingy. So I was like, oh, and they're £100. I'm like, do I do that? You know, is it just a waste of £100? Because if I find out I'm negative, it's just a waste of £100 anyway. Yeah. But then also, if I find out I've got antibodies, it's kind of a waste of anyway as well. You know, I can't go anywhere. There's no cinemas open and no restaurants. I can't do anything of any freedom anyway. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird thing. Strange time.
It is a strange time, man.
But I think one of the worst things for me through all this is seeing like how like a policed state is coming into effect. And I could send you links of some videos, you know, one in Australia of some woman with a child, and baby's crying, and they're just determined to get her in the back of the van, and they're ripping the kid off. The kid's like holding on to her mother by around her neck, and they're just tearing this baby off this woman. I was like, what are you doing? Like, what? And then, you know, people, police going into people's houses and taking them out just because of this, whatever it is. You know, they're not causing anyone any harm. They're staying at home, and they're still taking them to the hospital for tests and stuff like that. And then saw another video of this guy getting a vaccine which he didn't want, and they were like forcibly vaccinated him. There's about 15-minute video, and then when he's videoing it, and then when the orderlies takes the phone, puts it face down so you can't see what's going on, and you can just hear like a fight and screams and stuff like that. And unless it's just a drop in the ocean, there's loads of videos showing this sort of thing. And it's like, you know, you're not seeing this in the news. The news is only presenting what they want you to see, really. And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy. Like, I think a lot of people now are just too afraid. They're seeing stuff, but they're too afraid to say anything because they're going to sound like some tin, like foil hat wearing crazy person. But even just using your own logic and reasoning, you can think like, well, that's not right. There's a lot of things that come out of this aren't. Right.
I have to agree with you, man. I think that's true to a certain degree. I obviously, it's hard because you look at some doctors are coming out that are like MDs, you know what I mean? They're massive in the medical community, and they're coming out and they're saying this and the other, saying, you know, they don't think the lockdown should have been as severe, this, that, and the other. And then not only that, you know, like London Real, Brian Rose, he's been silenced. He can't seem to get anything up anywhere at the moment. It's been documented on the BBC that freedom of speech has been taken away, you know, that is not right, and it shouldn't be the case. You know, you can't have that. So I don't know. It's weird. It's very strange times. And when you see, like you say, a police state come in, you realize just how scary it is, you know. And I remember in February, maybe the start of March, seeing the footage of in Wuhan in China, you know, like block flats being welded shut so they couldn't get out, you know, they couldn't leave, you know, and basically quarantining them by actually just like keeping them in there. They couldn't get out, you know. And seeing a video of a little Chinese girl on a balcony screaming because her mummy was ill, but nobody can get to them, you know what I mean? She's just out on this balcony, and I don't know, the thing is, the world's so big that so much like ridiculously horrible things happen, that just because it's not on your, you know, your doorstep or out on your front porch, you don't see it happen, doesn't mean it's not happening. So yeah, man, it's scary times. I also think as well, not to keep wittering on, is that I do think people are very scared now. And I think that regardless of something positive coming out yesterday, you know, the government laying out a road back to relative normality, people are still like, I don't know if I believe it. This is not right. This is not right. I don't like this. He wasn't clear with this. This wasn't that. So no matter what, they're scared about something, which I'm going to be honest, man. I think eventually, when we look back on it, I just don't know, you know, deaths-wise, how, I suppose the lockdown restrictions did take the death toll right down, and it did help, so obviously. But I don't know if it would have been, it's such a weird one, is it? That it's only like 98% of people are fine with it and don't really suffer anything with it. You know, I don't know. It's weird. It's very weird.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, they could at least educate people on what they should do. You know, like I think, like I said, your immune system has been helping us for thousands of years. Yes. Like how many flus have come and gone. Granted, you know, back in the day, there's been things that wiped out populations, but still, if we are doing what we can, getting exercise, getting good sleep, eating, you know, fresh foods, like actual foods, not like processed shit.
Yeah, whole foods.
And, you know, being active yeah, like, being outside, being in the sea, being in the woods, like all these things expose you to bugs daily, and your body's constantly building its immune system. I think people should be encouraged to do that. Especially, if you're afraid, like, I think, like, I haven't had a fear about this, at all. The only
No.
concern I have is for my parents, but other than that, I think, I do what I can to be healthy anyway. So if everyone else did the same, then it might not have had the same impact coming in through the country as it has.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's true. I suppose we'll just see what happens. You know what I mean? That's all we can do, man. But I'm cognizant of the time, but I'm gonna call this quits here and have you back on the show to talk about some other stuff. But it's been
stuff.
Yeah, happier stuff. The thing is, it's the elephant in the room, isn't it? Like, it's hard to talk to people and not talk about that at the moment. So I cannot wait until it's behind us and we don't even, it doesn't get brought up. It's like a relationship. When you have a bad relationship, you can't stop talking about that person, but eventually there's a day that goes by where you don't talk about them, and then there's another one, and before you know it, you just don't think of them anymore. I can't wait for that.
Yeah. Well, I think in the meantime now here, I'm going to focus on my garden and I think find positivity in that. I want to get a workshop here as well. So I'm going to start, even when I go back to work tattooing, I want to do the things that I've always wanted to do, So we'll go back to making furniture, which I was doing when I was in university, and just make stuff. Yeah,
that's wicked, man. I think everybody needs to have that mindset to use it as. I've done just last week. I started an online course for a diploma in sports and exercise nutrition. So I've got like I'm only on module 1 and I've only had 2 lessons. So I've got 2 lessons a week, and it's going to take me a while because there's like 5 modules. So I've got loads of stuff to learn, so I'm going to try and get a diploma in that, just for myself. I don't want to be a PT or anything like that, but it's just something to do whilst you've got the free time. But man, honestly, thanks for coming on and chatting to me, and yeah, man, I'll catch you super soon. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, no worries, man. I'll speak to you soon, man.
Catch you later, dude.